Am I the jerk for not leaving the necklace behind? My friend got married 2 weeks ago. I was one of the bridesmaids. For her bachelorette party, I surprised her and the bridal party with necklaces that I had made by a local artist. They had everyone's first initial and a gem with their favorite color. My friend loved them and asked if I could have them made for her mother, future mother-in-law, and her grandmother because she wanted all the women walking down the aisle to wear these. I said absolutely, got their favorite colors, and submitted it to the artist. I paid for these out of pocket but did not mind. The wedding comes along. I knew my friend had a falling out of sorts with her grandmother. Grandma had started dating someone new within a year of her husband's death. My friend's mother felt it was too soon and was in her feelings about the situation. A big fight happened. They all made up, but my friend no longer wanted her grandmother walking down the aisle. The necklace was made weeks before this kerfuffle, so I still brought it. The night before the wedding, we all stayed at an Airbnb. I put out the boxes with everyone's necklaces so they could grab them before we left. My friend's grandmother was not there, but I figured my friend would grab it and bring it to the venue. As we were leaving to go to the venue, I heard her mother saying something about, "Just leave it, just leave it." I walked into the kitchen and my friend's grandmother's necklace was on the counter. My friend noticed me and asked if I would be okay with us not giving the necklace to her grandmother. I was a little taken aback and her mother stepped in and said, "We're not taking this with us." I pointed out that the necklace was already made and cost quite a bit. Her mother said, "No, she is not a part of this wedding. She is not wearing it." My friend agreed. I said fine to end the argument. My friend asked if I was upset and I said, "A little, these cost a bit to make. Could I just give it to her after the wedding?" My friend told me no. She did not want her grandmother to have it, period. I went to bring it with me, with plans to keep it in my purse so I could bring it home when the wedding was over and try to resell it somehow. The artist does not do refunds, understandably, or maybe gift it to someone else at some point. My friend's mother started yelling, "Leave it here." I tried to explain myself and my friend, and her mother started insisting I leave it there, convinced I was going to give it to the grandmother. I said I was not, but I was also not going to leave a $40 necklace behind, and I would find other use for it. Eventually, we all just went to the wedding. I kept the necklace. The wedding went fine. I brought the situation up a few days ago with my friend, trying to say that I was hurt by all of it. My friend got defensive and said I upset her and her mother by even bringing the necklace and refusing to leave it behind. I dropped the subject, but I am wondering if I was in the wrong. You are not in the wrong. You did a thoughtful thing, and they threw that back in your face and spoke to you rudely. Honestly, they should have just paid you for it and left it at that. Let them resolve their family issues on their own. You have nothing to be sorry for. Am I the jerk for enforcing the legal custody agreement? My ex and I have been divorced since March 2020. We are both women living in the United States. The marriage mainly ended because she cheated on me, but after years of going to therapy, I realized I was not a great partner either. We rarely ever agreed on anything unless one person caved under the guise of compromise. During the marriage, we had 2 children, an 11-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, and we each gave birth to 1 child. In the beginning of the divorce, we tried the 2-2-5 schedule. In June 2021, my ex wanted to change to a week-on week-off schedule. We signed the paperwork with our lawyers and filed it with the courts. I am a people pleaser. I have taken numerous phone calls from my ex about how I need to change something at my house because she doesn't like it. I would take the phone calls and all the blame and try to change things. This summer, my ex brought up the idea of giving the kids the option to choose the parent they want to stay with more. I was not too excited about it, but the kids really liked the idea, and I figured it was the summer. My daughter chose me and my son chose my ex. I rationalized it as little kids wanting their mothers. We decided to do the modified schedule from June to the middle of July, and then discuss how it went. To sum it up, it did not go well. My ex told me she was trying to keep my son from me to protect him because I would not follow her recommendations for a healthy diet. Both kids live at both houses equally. I told my ex I am done with the modified schedule. I want to go back to week. She fought me and said we promised the kids until the middle of July. Finally, the end of July comes, and we all meet together to talk about how the modified schedule went. We have family meetings randomly, so this was not out of the ordinary. My ex started off saying she wanted to hear everyone's thoughts about how it went during the summer. My daughter brought up an idea which my ex quickly shot down. My son liked modified, and my ex wanted to do modified until November. I was shocked she was trying to have a custody conversation in front of the kids. I was beyond angry. I would handle the phone calls because it was towards me, but this time the kids were involved. I told my ex we were going back to the week schedule, and that was it. We were doing the legal custody agreement, and I am done with modified. I have compromised enough. I told her she tried to keep my son away from me, and I will not have it anymore. She even tried to tell me I was lying about the week being legally filed with the courts. I told her I was not listening, and it is disgusting that this conversation is happening in front of the kids. Finally, the dinner was over, and I looked at my kids and said, "I am so sorry you had to be here for that." My daughter told me, "Mom, I am so sorry about the way she talks to you. I am still shocked this all happened in front of the children. Am I the asshole?" You did nothing to deserve criticism. Stick to the agreement and stop taking her calls. Communicate through a parenting app to keep a record of all communications. The adults need to start adulting, and what you do with the children, including meals, is not up to the other parent. If there are issues, go back to court and establish a routine the children can count on. Aitah for not babysitting for my cousin last minute. I am a 20-year-old female, and my cousin's wife, Nora, is a 38-year-old female. I received a text from her yesterday asking if I could babysit her 1-year-old baby today because she was having fibroid removal surgery. My cousin Jack, a 36-year-old male, was driving her and staying at the hospital. The surgery was supposed to be this fall, but they informed her last minute that they had an opening for her today. In the message, she told me that money is currently very tight between her and my cousin, so they would not be able to pay me. This would have been fine, and I would have accepted had I not been scheduled to work. She would have needed me there at 7:00 a.m., and my shift was from 6:00 a.m. to noon. So I politely told her I could not babysit. She never responded. I went downstairs after this exchange, and my mom asked, "So what time are you babysitting?" I told her I was not because I have work. She told me I was so rude not to call off for Nora and that she was disappointed in my behavior. I asked her why she didn't call off work to watch Nora's baby if it was so important to her. She essentially told me I was a brat and that I know her job is a real job. I work in food service. She knows I work and that I take my job seriously. I am working to pay for school, and both my boyfriend and I are saving every penny to hopefully move in together within the next year. She called me a few other rude names and is now not speaking to me. She must have told some of my other family members about the situation. I have now received 2 texts, including one from my grandmother, about how I should be willing to do anything for my family and that I need to make exceptions for family. I am annoyed at the whole situation. As for Nora, I do feel bad that she was stressed looking for a last-minute babysitter on top of having surgery, and I don't know what she ended up doing. But I also know that I didn't want to get written up for calling out without giving 24 hours notice, especially since I've been at this job for only 3 months. So, am I the asshole for not calling off work to babysit? You are not the jerk. No one should ever expect someone to call in sick for work unless they're actually sick. It's baffling that your family thinks it's appropriate to demand you miss a day of paid work to babysit, especially when the baby's father could simply handle it. If taking care of the baby is so crucial, why aren't they stepping up to help themselves? Keeping the peace shouldn't mean sacrificing your own needs and priorities. Am I the jerk for telling my friend it's her fault for the reason why her life is the way it is right now? So I, female 20 years old, have been friends with my close friend Kim, female 19 years old, since middle school. We would always do everything together. We would hang out, match clothes, and, in general, enjoy each other's presence. From then until now, everything has been going downhill. You see, Kim suffers from depression and, for as long as I have known her, has done nothing to get any help for it. I've recommended several free therapy places, but she would still brush it off and say she's fine when she knows she's not. Kim has done several other things. She would shame others for how they look, shame people for their weight, make rumors about people, and even go as far as to steal people's boyfriends and justify it by saying, "I have my needs and wants." She would then break up with them the very next day. I decided to stop being friends with Kim in early 2023 and haven't contacted her since. From what I've heard from other close friends, she's doing much worse than before I left her. Apparently, she's been spreading very harmful rumors about different people, and these weren't your obvious rumors. She would go as far as to claim that one of her friends caused her depression just because that friend decided to sneak around and sleep with her dad, which is obviously fake and ridiculous. I didn't bother to check on Kim because why would I talk to someone who does something and blames it on one of their mental disorders and never takes accountability? Last week, I ran into Kim at the mall while I was buying some Legos for my boyfriend, and we talked for a bit. Let me say this now, Kim looked horrible. Her hair was dead, she had dark bags under her eyes, she looked underweight, and she had scars and bruises on her legs and arms from obvious self-infliction. She talked to me about how terrible life had been for her. Her dad basically kicked her out because she kept stealing money from him, lost almost all her friends, and got blasted on social media for sleeping with someone's husband. I told her, well, I don't know what to tell you, love. You decided to make this decision for yourself, and you know the phrase, whatever goes around comes back around, and it came back around to you. It's your own fault you made those decisions for yourself, and there's no one else to really blame but yourself, Kim. After I said that, she stormed off in a rage. I later got a text from my friend Lauren, female 20 years old, that Kim had texted her about how terrible of a person I was for what I said. I explained to Lauren that it isn't my fault that no one gave Kim a reality check, and I did. It's not my fault she made her life that way and attempted to make everyone around her miserable for it. Lauren hasn't messaged me since that day, and I don't plan to message her anytime soon. Am I the asshole? You haven't done anything wrong. People like this have no concept of the consequences of their actions, and it sounds like she needed someone to wake her up. Maybe you did her a favor by pointing it out, and hopefully she will consider how her choices affect not just herself but the people around her. If not, At least the door is shut to any future possibility of being in her awful presence. Am I the jerk for not naming my child after mother-in-law and not allowing her to have a special nickname for my child? I, a 29-year-old woman, recently welcomed my daughter Carolyn about a month ago. Her name has been a point of contention with my mother-in-law Margaret ever since. For context, my sister-in-law Lena, a 27-year-old woman, had her baby daughter 2 years ago and named her Agatha after her own mother-in-law. Granny Agatha was overjoyed. This naming slightly miffed Lena's mother and my mother-in-law, Margaret, as the baby had not been named after her or given a middle name honoring her. Although she never communicated this with Lena directly, she would make backhanded comments about this. When my mother-in-law found out that my husband and I were having a girl, she assumed we were going to name her Margaret or something similar like Margot, even though we had never said anything as such. For example, when we announced the baby's gender at a family gathering, she responded that she cannot wait to meet Mini Margaret. I did not say anything at the time to avoid conflict in front of the entire family, but I brought it up in private with my husband later that day. He said that she probably said it on a whim out of endearment for her granddaughter, since we had not yet decided upon a name at the time. My husband did bring up honoring his mother, but I vetoed it. He did not push much either. When we finally decided upon the name a few weeks later, I had a bad feeling about her reaction. I really did not want someone to constantly pester us or try to convince us to change the name just a few weeks before birth. So I told my husband that I wanted to meet the baby first and be fully convinced that she was a Carolyn before announcing the name. Unbeknownst to us, my mother-in-law had been going around telling her friends how the baby was going to be named after her and how they would be Peggy and Maggie. After Carolyn was born and we announced her name to family and friends, my mother-in-law was livid. She argued about how we broke the tradition by choosing a different name last minute. I responded that my sister-in-law naming her daughter after her own mother-in-law does not constitute or lay down any tradition, and naming my daughter Margaret or Margot was never in consideration in the first place. She then claimed that we were embarrassing her in front of all her friends now that she had told them about the granddaughter being named after her. My husband tried to intervene by saying that she can still call the baby Maggie if she would like, and that could be her nickname for Carolyn. But by that point, I was so mad over the situation that I refused to let that happen. My husband and I later had a mini argument over this, and he said that although he understands that his mother is being a bit unreasonable, I was being too harsh by not even allowing Maggie as a nickname for her. I said that I would have considered doing so had she not gone behind our backs and spread the word about the baby being named after her, and later argued and accused us of embarrassing her. You are not in the wrong here, but the issue started home with the husband more than his mother. He should have made it clear early on that the baby's name was up to the two of you and not her, and Margaret wasn't on the list. This is an old lady wanting to make your baby about her, and she embarrassed herself by getting caught lying to her friends. Congrats on your little Carolyn. Am I the jerk for telling my friend I can't make their wedding dress despite making them for 2 other friends? I'm a 38-year-old female dressmaker and own my own shop. It has been a custom in my friend group that my wedding gift to friends who marry has been an original wedding dress made to their taste. I have done this for 2 friends. I love my job and I love my friends, so it has always been an easy choice for me. However, I am currently 26 weeks pregnant with my first child and trying to lessen my workload as I prepare for my maternity leave and pass larger projects over to my employees. My friend informed me last night that she is getting married. I was, of course, so happy for her and congratulated her. She asked if I would be making her dress for her. I told her, of course, to just let me know when they had a date. I was told they already had a date, January 19th. That was fine, a year and 5 months, perfect. Plenty of time to do the designs and make it. I expressed as much to her, but she corrected me. It wasn't January 19th, 2026, like I assumed, but January 19th, 2025. I was a bit shocked at this and told her that if that was the date she picked, I would have to take back my promise as there is no way I can make her dress in that time frame, as I will not be too long postpartum. I asked her to reconsider the date if she wanted me to make a dress, pointing out how 5 months wasn't much to plan a wedding anyway, but she insisted that was when she wanted it. I didn't push as it was up to her, but I made it clear I would not be able to make her dress for her then. She didn't understand this at all, pointing out how I would be taking time off work soon anyway, and couldn't I just use that time to make her dress? I admit in hindsight I got a bit snappish here, and she likely didn't realize just how much work goes into a wedding dress. I asked her if she had hit her head and why she thought it was okay to ask me to put stress on my pregnancy for her wedding dress. She's been sending messages in the group chat, calling me out for it, and saying how it's easy to tell who my favorites are. It's clear her feelings are hurt. I'm annoyed but also feeling a bit regretful about this. I can't trust my employees to make a wedding dress without me as their skill level isn't up to that. But maybe I could have a rehearsal dinner dress made for her, or even a reception dress to soothe the hurt of her not getting the custom dress she wants. Wow, that's some audacity for your friend to suggest you risk your health and sanity to make her a wedding gown in 5 months. You're growing a human, then birthing and recovering while taking care of a newborn. Where does she think wedding gown making fits into all that? Given her attitude, she does not deserve a dress from you. Nothing you've done here makes me think you are the jerk at all, and this person isn't your friend. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.